So
Hello,
lately
lovely,
I've
and
been in
welcome to the
spaces with
Essence of
people who
Expression
are
podcast.
focused on logic
Get ready to
and
explore
logic alone.
insights, lessons, practices,
And logic
and
is
wisdom
only part
from
of the
life
equation.
for life.
So
I'm
today
your
I'm going to
host,
talk
RJ,
to you about the
healer,
limits of
teacher,
logic.
student, and sage. I'm
And while
excited and
logic
honored
can
to
be
have you
great
with
when
me
you're
on this
operating
journey,
in areas
let's
that you have
dive
lots
in.
of experience in, where there's a variety of things you've been exposed to, and you're trying to strategize, it's great. And I love logic, and I have this background that I come from, and I am a logical person, and I'm also very much into energetic and spirituality and things that a lot of people would very quickly label woo and not think of as being practical. But for me, it's practical, and what I've realized is that for a lot of people who don't think it's practical, it's because they're not actually putting any of the spiritual and energetic principles into practice, which is why it's not practical for them, because they're not practicing it actively and consistently. But I value both logic and the energetic spiritual side of things. And when we work with both of those, we're working with more of the full picture of our world. And so when it comes to logic, if we only focus on logic and just try to do everything according to logic, there's a lot that we miss. And what I mean by that is life gets very limited if we are only going to work with or from the standpoint of logic. Because one of the biggest limitations of logic is that it requires evidence. So if you haven't experienced it, if you haven't witnessed it, if you haven't heard of it being possible, it's not possible for you according to logic. There's no pathway for you to get there. And you're not going to find new pathways unless you're broadening your experiences and putting yourself in different places to be exposed to things. So if you're trying to create a different circumstance, situation, life for yourself, you're just like using just logic to do that means you're going to have to be out more, around more people, very much outside of your comfort zone first before anything can arrive, because you've got to be expanding that experience so that you can have that evidence. And everything that you're trying to create has to come through these pathways that you can see. But if you can already see it, you're probably already using it. And if you're wanting to change something, you're probably not choosing that pathway because you don't know it's even there, right? Because it's not part of your experience. Another limitation of logic is sometimes logic runs very counter to your desire. So these are instances when like your heart wants one thing and your head is like, oh, the rational thing, the reasonable thing, the logical thing is this, and it doesn't match up to what your heart is desiring. And when that happens, one of the biggest issues with this is if you look at the electromagnetic fields of our brain and of our heart one is the bigger, stronger electromagnetic field. So we are literally more magnetic from heart than we are from head. And so if you are going to operate only from a mental space, right, only from logic, then you're already limiting yourself and diminishing your ability to easily bring the thing to you that you were trying to accomplish or trying to achieve. And the third limitation with logic is that it can be flawed, right? And you see this all the time, like the difference between correlation and causation and getting the two mixed up. So sometimes you think, oh, this is the cause, whenever it's not actually causing it. It's just something that occurs very frequently with the thing, but it isn't the cause. So sometimes the logic itself is flawed. And while logic can be helpful, logic is not necessarily going to lead you to the best, most expansive results that you can have for yourself. So I'll give you this example, right? I was at Christmas and my family, like, we got together, we had dinner, there were some games and there were prizes for the games. So it was like money and like scratcher tickets and things like that, right? And so money, basically money or chances of winning money. And I didn't really like any of the games that they were playing, so I chose not to play them, and I was just enjoying myself sitting and talking to people and watching my family have fun and like laugh and play and do their thing, right? But the games were not my thing, and I had no interest in doing it, even though, yes, money would be nice, right? But logic would say, if you don't play the game, you can't get the money, right? Because you can't win any of the prizes. And that's logic, and it makes sense, and it's a valid argument. Now, what actually happened was I did not play any of the games that I did not want to play. I didn't play any of the games at all. I sat there and people kept trying to get me to play the games, and that's not what my heart wanted to do at all. I just wanted to sit and be and chat and watch my family and just be in the love and the laughter and just take it in. So that's what I did. Now, later, one of my aunts who had won several of the prizes came over and gave me a scratcher, and the scratcher, I ended up winning $25 off that. So I got $25 from this prize of a game I did not play. But logic would tell you that I would only be getting money or a prize if I played the game. Like, logic doesn't allow for that to come to me any other way than playing the game. Now, it might, now that that's happened, right, now that I have that experience in my database, my logic might say that. But initially, it doesn't leave room for that, right? And what it would initially say without that experience is there are prizes for the games. You can win the prizes if you win the game. You have to win the game. Therefore, you have to play the game to win the prize. And that's what happens when we're trying to create a more expansive or better life for ourselves, is that if we're looking at it from a logical perspective, the proof must be there first. And it doesn't allow us to move in faith, especially if we don't have a background of, being witness to what it's like to move in faith or having things show up in unexpected ways. So our logic is going to limit us by pre-selecting the channels that the things can come to us through. And when we do that, we severely limit ourselves because our brain is going to be like, oh, this thing can show up through A, B, or C. And never mind the infinite number of ways that it can actually come to you and actually make its way to you. But logic is going to restrict that, and it's going to choose and say, oh, only these finite number of ways can this show up. And then because there's a finite number of ways that it can show up, you're already making it harder, right? Like, think of the person. So think of this. If someone's trying to send you cash or get cash to you, right? If you're like, oh, you can only mail me a check, right? Well, if people aren't going to go to the post office or don't have checks, like, you've taken all those people out of the game who can give you money, right? As opposed to like the person who's, hey, I can take a check in the mail. Hey, I can Cash App, I can Venmo, I can Zelle, I can PayPal, I can Stripe, I can Cash, I can charge your credit card, whatever, right? You see how it makes it much harder for us when we've limited the channels that something can flow to us through. And you're going to move in ways that you can see, usually which are familiar to you, either because you've done them or you've watched someone else do it. But what happens when the experience that you're going for falls outside of what you've lived, falls outside of what you've been able to witness from anybody that's around you? You get stuck really fast unless you can get yourself outside of those spaces. So that's the limit of logic. And I just want to caution anyone who maybe is overly relying on the logic side of things that, like, logic is not the only part of the experience of this life. It's only part of it, right? It's not the whole thing. And how much are you willing to limit yourself and willing to miss out on for the sake of always being logical? Logic doesn't only have limits when it comes to Like, hey, I want to be expansive. Logic sometimes has limits in keeping you safe, right? Sometimes the things that don't make sense logically are the right move for you. They're the thing that keeps you out of there. Like, so for example, they're the thing you get that weird feeling that like, oh, you're going to take a different route because even though there's a route you normally take to get someplace, you're like, something feels off about it, and you don't take that route, right? And so maybe you miss the accident that happens on that route that happens at the exact time you'd be going through there, just because something didn't feel right and you listened. That's not a logic function. And when we learn to listen to those nudges, our intuition, and follow it without requiring the same proof that logic requires, like, amazing things can happen. And it's a lot more amazing things that can happen when we're willing to leverage logic and leverage intuition, and also let ourselves feel and embody as we strategize, right? So the more sides of life that we allow ourselves to play with, the richer the experience, and the more the possibilities, and the more ease and abundance that we open ourselves up to receive.
Thank you for your time and attention. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this episode, please take a moment to share it with them. If you're interested in joining a community and diving further into these topics, please visit theessenceofexpression.com/community and request to join our community group. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night or day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.